Hi, I'm Phil Roundtree and welcome to the HowAudio.com podcast. In this podcast, we'll be checking in with Les Brockmann, recording engineer with Academy and Grammy Award-winning titles under his belt, for his MOTU Digital Performer 5.1 title. So without any further delay, let's check in with Les.
Our dance beat track is starting to sound pretty cool, but it needs something more. Let's add a guitar track. In order to do that, we're going to have to do some audio recording as opposed to MIDI. Before we do that, though, we need to take a few minutes and talk about some details about how audio works in Digital Performer, just so you can make sure that you can hear yourself as you try this. Let's take a minute and click on this button and take a look at what we've got set here. This has to do with the audio setup that's plugged into the computer. As we can see, our MOTU Ultralight is highlighted here, and we've got some settings that apply to that. One issue that comes up with this type of interface, regardless of brand, is the issue of latency. Latency means sometimes there will be a little bit of a delay when you play the instrument or speak into the mic, depending upon what sort of audio source you're using. This is how to deal with all that. Just for now, let's do this. I'd like for you to set this setting to 64. It may have been at a different number, and then let's click OK. In addition, let's take a look at another control here, and that's this. Let's also take a look at a menu here. Under Setup, let's select Configure Audio System and take a look at Input Monitoring Mode. If your system is brand new, it probably looks like this, with this button pushed, Direct Hardware Playthrough. Instead, let's change it to this. Monitor Record Enabled Tracks through Effects. And then let's hit OK. Take a look at one more menu here. Studio, Audio Patch Through. What we want to do is have this set to Auto for now. We'll explain a little bit later what these all mean and how to use them in different situations. So there's that, and let's send that away. Now, once we add an audio track, we should be able to hear the instrument. In this case, it's going to be a guitar. There's several types of audio tracks you can add in a Digital Performer project. Let's take a look at what they are. Stereo audio tracks, mono audio tracks. You can even add surround audio tracks if you choose to do so. Probably not a good choice for an individual instrument, but maybe for mixing. We'll get to that a little bit later. For now, let's add a mono audio track because we're going to play one electric guitar track. As a matter of fact, our friend Thel is going to pitch in and play a Strat guitar track for us. This is a mono audio track, and I'm going to change the name of that to Guitar 1. We need to select an input source and an output. Analog 1 is the input on this MOTU that you can plug a guitar or any other instrument into, or a microphone. And for output, we're not going to use built-in, but instead we're going to use main out, which is what we've been monitoring everything else through as well. By the way, I need to take just one more moment and mention one or two more things about this whole issue of monitoring latency. Let's take a look right here once again. We set this buffer size setting to 64 so that the monitoring through the system would be very short. If you'll take a look under the Studio menu, let's get this window, the Audio Performance window, and take a look at that. This is how hard your computer's CPU, its processor, is working right at the moment. You'll find that the smaller the number in hardware in that buffer setting, the harder the computer is going to have to work. If your computer is not quite as new or fast, you may hear distortion as you record, and you may see that this meter is showing farther that way or even lighting this red over. If you find that to be the case, you're going to need to go into hardware and set this to a little bit larger number. One other thing I should mention, most of MOTU's brand audio interfaces don't necessarily require this setting changeover for low latency monitoring. If you're interested in finding out more about this, check the manuals.
Thanks, Les. Well, that wraps it up for this edition of the HowAudio.com podcast. Be sure to check us out on the web for all your music, audio, and software training needs. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you soon.